Hey, how's it going? We're gonna be checking out a skin model today in our eventual series of trying to get all the AMP models on video. So what I have here is the skin model. Beautiful skin model. Kind of easy to take up the whole screen here. So bear with me, you're just gonna see like my head above things. All right, when we look at the skin, let's check this out. We're gonna see several things. All right, up here, we got our skin. Okay, that's our skin. That is our cutaneous membrane. That is our integument. The skin itself, there's two types. There is thick skin, which we have over on this side. And then there is thin skin or hairy skin, which we have right here. Thick skin we've got on our palms of our hands and on the soles of our feet, where we need that extra protection for abrasion. Thin skin is everywhere else. The skin is going to be made up of two layers, okay? We're going to have a layer right here. This is the upper layer right here. This is called the epidermis. You can see some bumps at the bottom of the epidermis here. Below the epidermis is the dermis, which we've got right here. All right, so epidermis up top, dermis down below. Those two comprise the skin. Below them is the hypodermis, or superficial fascia. That's what we've got down here. Notice how yellow it is. The yellow is indicative of the type of tissue. The tissue we're going to have there is adipose tissue with adipocytes, so it's going to function in things like energy storage, plus shock absorption, plus thermal insulation, and buoyancy. Helps you float, too. All right. Let's talk more about this, okay? Let's zoom in right here. There we go. This is thick skin, found in two places. I'm getting ahead of myself right there. Sole of the foot and palm of the hand. Thick skin is going to have 5 sublayers. If we look at this bottommost layer right there, that bottommost layer is the stratum basale. So all these layers are going to be called strata, so each is going to get the word stratum before it. Says the stratum basale right there. Okay, and if we go up above the stratum, but let's talk about the stratum basale for a second here. The stratum basale is super important because it's made of living cells, and these living cells are really mitotic, so they're always dividing because the cells at the top here are going to be sloughed away all the time. Okay, above the stratum basale, this layer, it's kind of lighter, it's a little bit thicker. That is the stratum spinosum. It is called the stratum spinosum just because it appears spiny under the microscope, because desmosomes lock the cells together to give it more structural integrity. All right, moving right along, right here we've got the stratum granulosum, which will appear to be granular as the name implies. It appears granular because of the changes that are going on in the keratinocytes, the cells that make up the epidermis. And remember, of course, the epidermis is a stratified squamous epithelium. All right, so all these cells we're looking at here, all these sublayers are epithelial cells. All right, if we go up, our next layer, the whitish one in the model here, there we go, the whitish one right there, that is the stratum lucidum. It often looks clear under the microscope, hence lucidum. Makes sense? Last but not least is the stratum corneum, which is very big and thick in thick skin. Stratum corneum, corneum means horn, and the reason will be apparent in a second. Stratum corneum is big and thick here, is made of cells that are basically dead by now. Not basically dead, they're dead. And they're really nothing more than bags of this tough, fibrous, waterproof protein called keratin. The thing which the horn of a rhinoceros is made out of, hence stratum corneum. All right, those are the 5 basic layers in thick skin. Thin skin is going to be similar. Thin skin is very similar, except the layers overall are skinnier, especially the stratum corneum. I mean, look at the stratum corneum in thick skin, then look at that same stratum corneum in thin skin. Big difference, definitely a big difference. The other big difference is the fact that the stratum lucidum, the whitish layer right here, is not found in thin skin. So thin skin only has 4 layers. it's missing a stratum lucidum, and the stratum corneum is markedly skinnier in thin skin. And we're less worried about abrasion there. All right, good. That is pretty much it for the epidermis. Basically done. Epidermis is on top of the dermis. Dermis means skin. And if I pick this model up, or I can move it back, either will do, I suppose. This is the dermis, all right? The dermis itself has two sublayers. So we need to go over those two sublayers. I'm gonna get a book. Boom, drop a book on my desk. Almost drop it on the floor. Put the model on. It's a high-tech industry we got going on here. So let's check this out. All right, what I want you to look at is, maybe we'll move it back a little bit. It's a fancy camera work going on here. There we go. All right, right there. Awesome. So this top part of the dermis, right here, we see some blood vessels and stuff. That is the papillary dermis. It is the upper fourth or fifth or so of the dermis. That sublayer is the papillary dermis. Okay, why is it called papillary? Well, the word papilla means protrusion. So I slide this right over here. You can see these bumps. These bumps are dermal papillae. If I rotate, look how cool those are. Those are dermal papillae. You get it up close right there. The dermal papillae, what they're going to do is interlock, or better word, interdigitate, like this. And they interlock, interdigitate with the epidermis. What that does is it keeps these two layers strongly attached to one another. You don't want them to slide apart. Okay, so this upper layer here is the papillary dermis. Each of the bulges that we see, and we really saw them over here, which is off the screen, but each of these bulges is a dermal papilla. Many are dermal papillae. Mostly areolar connective tissue in the papillary dermis. The deeper layer of the dermis, the deeper layer, or sublayer I should say, the deeper sublayer is called the reticular dermis. It's made of dense, irregular connective tissue, okay? Dense meaning it has a lot of collagen. Irregular meaning that collagen, those fibers, are going in all different directions. What that does is it allows the skin to absorb and withstand stresses and forces in lots of different directions. Reticular means like a net. And think about it, a net is not going to have parallel strings. It'll have parallel, perpendicular, sometimes many different directions. All right, that's where the name comes from. So we got our two basic sublayers, papillary dermis and reticular dermis. Good. Now we got to deal with some accessory structures. There are things in the dermis that are part of your skin, but they're not going to be, they're in the dermis, but they're not made of connective tissue. They're made of epithelial tissue. All right, that was a horrible introduction, but let's just power on through here. Let's talk about some glands. Well, these white glands here are sweat glands. You have millions of these on your body. These are sweat glands that are going to be involved in thermoregulation. They are making sweat in order to keep you cool. They make sweat. Sweat evaporates from your skin surface, steals heat from you. Great. So these are all sweat glands. Nice coiled tubular glands. Nice duct. There you go. This big yellow one is a sweat gland too. This is an axillary sweat gland, an armpit sweat gland. This is a stinkier sweat gland, basically, but a sweat gland nonetheless. All right, we got some hairs up here. Hairs are important for keeping us warm on our head, important for keeping sweat out of our eyes. They help us sense creepy crawly things on our skin. We see the hair, we got the shaft of the hair. All right, we got the hair comes down, we're gonna see the root of the hair. And the important thing next to it, the hair itself is dead cells made of filled with keratin. Next to it, we've got these purple cells. These are the living guys. This is the hair follicle here. And we're not really going to get into it any more deeper. That's some terrible English right there. We're not going to get into it any deeper than that. We got the follicle, we got the root, we got the shaft. Follicle is living, mitotic cells, replacing the cells of the hair and then allowing them to grow. All right, let's keep going. Attached to every hair follicle, we have another gland. These blue glands here are called sebaceous glands. Sebaceous glands. Sebaceous glands secrete sebum, which is this oily substance, helps moisturize the skin, has some bactericidal properties, and it is being secreted into your hair follicles. So these blue guys here as well, are sebaceous glands. What else do we have in here? Let's see. We have a muscle. Where's the muscle? There it is. Little piece of smooth muscle. This is some involuntary muscle. You don't control this. Each of these muscles is an arrector pili muscle. Okay? Arrector pili muscle. And these muscles are what are responsible for your hair standing on end, for goosebumps, which we get when we're cold or when we're scared. These are an example of a vestigial structure. We still have them. They're a reflection of our evolutionary past, but they don't really do anything for us. Our hairs aren't long enough to trap a warm insulating layer of air when we get goosebumps. We don't look particularly more frightening to predators when we get goosebumps. But we have these things, and we got to be aware of them. All right, more stuff. We do see blood vessels in here, lots of blood vessels. Dermal blood vessels are great for thermoregulation too. If I were doing jumping jacks in here, my skin would turn red because blood would be rushing to it, allowing heat to be radiated away. So we vasodilate, we vasoconstrict in order to help regulate our body temperature. We see some nerve fibers here, nerve endings as well. I'm touching one big one down there. I'll let you see it. There we go. All right, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for the skin model. 12 minutes of skin model. Hope you enjoyed it. See you later.